Now, the lesson we're going to do today, usually we go into prophecy and what's going on in the earth. We may cover a little bit of that. But what I wanted to discuss today is go further into the siege. Okay, and when we say the siege, most people don't know that the children of Israel, according to the Bible, okay, not the Israelis, the God's chosen people, have been under attack since we fell as a nation. We went from one empire to the next, and the Most High showed mercy on Abraham's seed by allowing us to reprocreate and to get scattered, and for us to continue to live in this earth, to one day seek Him. But in the interim, the other nations have sought to come against God's people. Now, we're going to show the siege, but all in all, we're going to show you the salvation also. I think that sometimes we may go so far into what the others are doing and what they're doing against us. I think it's more so, it's good to know that at the end of the day, that we will be saved through this. That regardless of what they might plan against us, that there will be salvation for the children of Israel. And the people who are doing this against our people, the people who have warred against us, will lose. And it's going to be some miraculous circumstances also, and I'm going to read about those also. But the reason we go into the political side of things and how they are planning these things against us is because we have to bring this knowledge down to an everyday common understanding so that everyone can understand. You have to give the word in a way that people can understand, and we can relate to what people are doing to us. All right, so now we're tying this in together by realizing what the politicians and governments are doing to us now, they have always done against us. So we have to bring these things forth and showing you prophecy, letting you know that Christ will soon be returning according to prophecy. But we let you know, we need to bring forth these prophecies to let you know exactly who they're targeting in this earth. And I can't say this enough. It's important that the children of Israel, that God's people, come together for this final battle. All of us are not going to come together. We understand that. But there will be a remnant in this earth that will come together, that will stand at the very end. Okay? Now, first of all, I wanted to go into the siege. When I say the siege is a orchestrated plan to place a garrison or a fort around God's people. Now, of course, they'll use different pretexts, but all in all, the objective is the same. The objective is to number the children of Israel, to figure out a census on how many of the population they would need to come against or destroy. Then second of all, they would have to make a pretext to come against God's people. The propaganda machine could come up with anything. But the end result is the armies coming with their swords drawn or their guns drawn to kill our people. You understand? That is the plan of the powers. Now, when we say there's nothing new under the sun, we went into the Josephus years ago and showed a few things of Masada, of how the Romans planned this against our people. How the Romans came together and said, you know what? Under the spirit of patriotism, let's go and destroy those Jews in Jerusalem and sack Jerusalem and take down those people and control their resources. Okay? This happened before. So this Roman conquest you see where the American armies and the Western world European armies going into these other countries, taking their resources, destroying them, but demonizing them first, is not a new it's not a new game. It's the same game over and over again. But the siege, the ultimate siege, is that impending battle between Jacob and Esau. I need you to read in the book of Josephus the plan of the siege. Now we go into the book of Josephus. We're going to be jumping around a little bit, but we're going to go into the book of Josephus and then bring you back into the Bible and then into the salvation to show you that there's nothing new under the sun. The elite and the powers of this earth are not playing with a new playbook. Okay? Their protocol is the same. Why? If it worked the first time, it'll work again. As long as they can keep the people distracted, dumbed down, not understanding what's going on, there's no need for them to construct a new program that worked perfectly when our people understood. If it worked for us when we totally understood who we were, they know that that plan will definitely work against us now. Okay? One plan they have is to have us fight against each other internally. That makes it easier for them. Internal fighting. One other thing that they'll do is to distract you through all types of trivial games and all types of things, television or what have you. The next thing to do is to demoralize you, make you think that there's no commandments we should follow as a people. Okay? Then another step is to disarm you, demonize and criminalize a person and make it where you can't physically defend yourself. Okay? And then eventually destroy you altogether after they have squeezed every ounce of manpower of servitude from you and then throw you away like waste. That's their plan. That's always been their plan. See, but there's another plan working in the background, a greater plan, and that plan is the Most High's. So we're going to go into that, but first we need to show you on a layman's level how these people operate, what they think. How will they plan this against our people? What chapter and verse in Josephus?
Wars of the Jews. Book 5, chapter 12.
Wars of the Jews. Go ahead.
Book 5, chapter 12, verse 1.
Book 5, chapter 12, verse 1. When we're in the Josephus. For those who don't know about the Josephus, Josephus was a brother, Yawasap, or Joseph, who was employed by the Romans to document the fall of Jerusalem. It's like having a reporter to report or document an instance. Now, one thing about this is he didn't have a biased objective. His objective was to report exactly what he witnessed. So this is not what you would call a Roman propaganda. This is a brother. This is an Israelite. So he recorded the fall of our people in the war of the Jews. Now, if you heard our videos before, we continue to talk about Nero, who, through a false flag, he burned 8 cities in Rome and blamed it on our people in Jerusalem. Okay? That drummed up the patriot spirit of Romans against our people in Jerusalem and eventually led to the downfall of the burnings of our cities and the destruction of Jerusalem, to the point where our people, taking heed to Christ's prophecies, ran into Africa, fleeing from the Roman persecution. Those that did not escape were enslaved in different parts of Europe, and they were also thrown in the arenas to entertain the Europeans, the Romans. Our people were forced to fight lions and bears. Sometimes we won. Lions, tigers, they threw us in the arenas as sport for those who didn't take heed to the prophecies. But it's not like this happened in one day. It was gradual. You need to understand what this is. You're dealing with a patient people with a orchestrated agenda. So this destruction of our people didn't happen overnight. Okay? What happened was, after Nero burned the cities and blamed it on us, then they got their armies together and got, getting new weapons and all that, and started occupying our streets under the spirit of security, saying that, well, listen, we need to be amongst you because you burned up 8 of our cities. We need to make sure no other spirit of terrorism can operate amongst your people. We're not trying to destroy you, but this is a preemptive action, just to be sure that you won't try this again, even though our people didn't do this. They were putting their armies in place to destroy us back then. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the same plan they have today. But of course, eventually, Christ saves us out of this. One of the biggest difference, before lawyer read this, is that instead of this siege being one particular area or one country, like it was when we were in Jerusalem, now they have set up a global net and an attempt to do this worldwide, starting in the Western world. It's the same protocol, though. With their technology, they're able to roll this program out on an international level. But they could not do that unless they first controlled the currencies of the earth first, and have all people dependent on them in these other countries. That's the reason for your wars right now. But for all the countries under the Western world rule, they will soon deal with the same suffering. Our people will deal with the same suffering and the same destruction that was put on us in 70 AD. I need you to read what you have there.
Titus thought fit to encompass the city round with a wall.
So Titus thought to do what?
To encompass the city round with a wall.
He planned to put a wall around Jerusalem. Sounds familiar? Your borders? Let's build a border around our country. Now they claim that the border today is to keep immigrants out. But we know that America is not trying to keep immigrants out. By allowing immigrants in, that actually pulled down the wages. Why pay someone $20 an hour or $100 or $50 an hour when you can pay someone $20 for the whole day? So they're not trying to keep immigrants out. That's just an excuse they're using to begin this border. The same border we're reading in past time when our people was taken down by Titus and his son Vespasian. Vespasian wanted to just go straight in. Okay? And he said, no, you got to do it this way. I'm going to show you how to do it. You can't beat these people with brute force. See, back then they didn't have machine guns, they didn't have semi-automatics, they didn't have the same type of explosives. So they didn't have the physical might to take down these black men which were in Jerusalem. They weren't going to go in Jerusalem with no swords, not like that. So they had to first starve them out. They had to first get some reconnaissance on these people to see how they operate. Read.
After which the famine consumed the people in whole houses.
It says the famine did what?
Consumed the people by whole houses and families together.
So the famine weakened our people first. So what they did was they put a wall around Jerusalem, didn't allow any food in or out. See? And now we understand the reason you have stores which are government controls. Well, they control all your resources. If they control your food, you are a slave to them. So this is what they did back then. They cut off the food first. Read.
And now did Titus consult with his commanders what was to be done. Those that were the warmest tempers, of the warmest tempers, thought he should bring the whole army against the city and storm the wall. For that hitherto no more than a part of their army had fought with the Jews.
Go ahead.
But that in case the entire army was to come at once, they would not be able to sustain their attacks, but would be overwhelmed by their darts. But of those that were of a more cautious management, some were for raising their banks again, and others advised to let the banks alone, but to lie still before the city, to guard against the coming out of the Jews, and against their carrying provisions into the city, and so to leave the enemy to the famine. And this without direct fighting with them. For that despair was not to be conquered, especially as to those who are desirous to die by the sword, while a more terrible misery than that is reserved for them. However, Titus did not think it fit for so great an army to lie entirely idle, and that yet is what in vain to fight that with those, Titus did not think it fit for those so great an army to lie entirely idle, and that yet it was in vain to fight with those that would be destroyed one by another. He also showed them how impracticable it was to cast up any more banks for want of materials, and to guard against the Jews coming out. Still more impracticable, as also that to encompass the whole city round with his army was not very easy, by reason of its magnitude and the difficulty of the situation, and on other accounts dangerous, upon the sallies the Jews might make out of the city. For although they might guard the known passages out of the place, yet they would, when they found themselves under the greatest distress, contrive secret passages out, as being well acquainted with all such places. And if any provisions were carried in by stealth, the siege would thereby be longer delayed. He also owned that he was afraid that the length of time thus to be spent would diminish the glory of his success. For though it be true that length of time will perfect everything, yet that to do what we do in a little time is still necessary to the gaining reputation. That therefore his opinion was, that if they aimed at quickness joined with security, they must build a wall round about the whole city, which was, he thought, the only way to prevent the Jews from coming out any way, and that then they would either entirely despair of saving the city, and so would surrender it up to him, or be still and more easily conquered when the famine had farther weakened them.
Go ahead.
For besides this wall, he would not lie entirely at rest afterward, but would take care then to have banks raised again, when those that would oppose them were become weaker. But that if any one should think such a work to be too great, and not to be finished without much difficulty, he ought to consider that it is not fit for the Romans to undertake any small work, and that none but the Most High himself could with ease accomplish any great thing whatsoever. These arguments prevailed with the commanders. So Titus gave orders that the army be distributed to their several shares of this work. And indeed, there now came upon the soldiers a certain divine fury, so that they did not only part the whole wall that was to be built among them, nor did one legion strive with another, but the lesser divisions of the army did the same, insomuch that each soldier was ambitious to please his decurion, each decurion his centurion, each centurion his tribune. And the ambition of the tribunes was to please their superior commanders, while Caesar himself took notice and rewarded the like contention in those commanders. For he went round about the works many times every day, and took a view of what was done.
This is what's going on here. So they sat down with the generals and said, okay, you give me the best ideas you have in destroying these people. This is what they do at the Pentagon. They sit down with their generals and they discuss the pros and cons of coming up against an enemy. And when they get the greatest plan that can, the most effective plan that will cause success and less casualty, that's the plan they go with. So this is what they did during the time of Caesar. Vespasian and his son Titus, this is what they did. They came up with a way to put a garrison around Jerusalem and make it where if our people tried to escape, they could kill them. If they tried to bring food in, they could kill them. So he said, listen, instead of doing it this way, why don't we just put them in a place where they'll have no choice but to first spin and destroy themselves. Similar to what happened in Katrina when they put our people in a dome with no provisions, only the strong survive. So what the brothers were doing, they were raping the women, they were stealing from people, they were doing all this because they understand, based on past history, how we react in a state of an emergency. So no soon as an emergency happened, you see they go into what you would call loot control. Okay, let's go after the looters. When they know that it's not looting, if all your provisions is gone, the first thing people are going to do is go look for food. But they understand this based on past history. That's common sense. That's survival. So what they did was say, well, listen, let's not just attack them immediately. Let's make it where they cannot come in or out, and let them destroy themselves inwardly first. And if you can relate this to some of these internment camps that they're going to be having, what you think this is? It's jail. Look at what goes on in jail. Okay, only the strong survive. You have groups going against different groups, pitted against different groups. This is what they're planning. This is where they get that concept. It's a Roman psychological plan on destroying a people inwardly to control them and then eventually destroy them off altogether. This is history we're reading here. Read.
Titus began the wall from the camp of the Assyrians, where his own camp was pitched, and drew it down to the lower parts of Sinopolis. Thence it went along the valley of Kedron to the mountain of Olives.
Let's go straight. We know the wall was put all around in certain areas so that they cannot go down. Let's go to where they started, our people, what our people started to do once we were trapped in the city. Now, mind you, these are the people who didn't take heed to Christ's prophecy. When the Lord says, when Yeshua told us, when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee into the mountains. See, Christ told his believers what would happen, what to do when you see Roman armies living amongst your population. He distinctly told his believers. The majority of people who escaped was those who believed in Christ. They followed it. They didn't question it. They just followed what Christ told them and said, okay, let me get up out of here because the Roman armies are here. All right? Now, this paralleling quite close to what we are about to experience now. Like the example I can give you on a small level, I just heard this about some young girl was a little girl who was killed in Louisiana, and now they're talking about rolling out the National Guard within Louisiana to stop violence. Now that's a police matter, and you see how they use the little child and the little child's story, but that's just a pretext so they can roll out NDAA, a National Defense Authorization Act. Now they're implementing what they're bringing forth, and they're using a story. Listen, our people have been dying as long as I can remember. Little girls and all that, and little boys, and crossfire. This is a pandemic that the army can't control, the police can't control, because it's the government that's funding this type of society. They're putting the guns in the neighborhoods. They're actually funding the drug trade. They're shipping the drugs in. So now you're going to use the people that ship the drugs in to control the population and to try to stop them from shooting? That's ridiculous. Really, their plan is what we're reading right here. It have nothing to do with drugs. It have nothing to do with little girls. If they was concerned about little girls and boys, they would not give them vaccinations. Okay? They would not be doing all types of mind control and putting kids on Ritalin and making them out to be criminal before they're 18 years of age. So they don't care about children. They just need a narrative in which they can sell to the population. Read.
When Titus had therefore encompassed the whole city with this wall, and put garrisons into proper places, he went round the wall at the first watch of the night, and observed how the guard was kept. The second watch he allotted to Alexandria. The commanders of legion took the third watch. They also cast lots among themselves who should be upon the watch in the night time, and who should go all night long round the spaces that were interposed between the garrisons. So all hope of escaping was now cut off from the Jews.
Now all hope of escaping was cut off. Now it took time for this. Now you know our people seen them building out there, but our people didn't make nothing of it. Our people probably thought, well, yeah, they just want to keep themselves separate from us. You know, they trying to make us safe. They were selling some level of propaganda, but really, they were trapping these people in to be destroyed for years. So what you think happening with your border? With the politicians drumming up, we must have a stronger borders. We must have more troops on the borders. It's not to keep people out, brothers and sisters. It's to keep people in. It's to keep people in. History does not lie. They're not creating borders to keep immigrants out. They need the immigrants. Immigrants drive down wages. Okay? They need the immigrants to come in to actually denigrate the population and to drive down wages. That's what's going on in a capitalistic society. So they're not trying to stop immigrants from coming in, okay? They're trying to stop someone from leaving out. So our people sat back and watched this happen. They seen the cage being built around them and did nothing. But those who was following Christ did what? Hold that. Get Luke 21 and 20. I want to show something. We went through this before, but there's some other things I want to bring out with this.
St. Luke chapter 21 verse 20.
Go ahead.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
So Yeshaya says, when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies,
then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
So the desolation that was spoken of in Daniel is near. Read.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
And if you're hearing this, it's time for you to leave into the mountains. When you see that happen, those who follow Christ understood, okay, it's time. They have army population amongst us. They have their army operating all amongst our people. And you know, an army, when they operate, they're not there to police. Okay? Armies don't operate like that. That's why it was against the law, even in Roman time. The only one that did this was Julius Caesar, to bring your army within the city. That was against the law. America copied that to show you that they are similitude of Rome with the Posse Comitatus Act. That it's against the law to bring your troops within the city, within the country to police. Police, not the army. The army comes to kill. That's what they're trained for. They're trained mercenaries. So they're not there to keep the peace and stop a child from being shot, or to stop drugs from being trafficked. The army traffic the drugs. They're not there for that. They are killing machines. So when back then, when Christ says, listen, when you see this happen, know that what we showed Daniel, the desolation is near. You start fleeing into the mountains. Our people went into the Atlas Mountains, went around Morocco, and we started filtering into Africa. Now, for those who didn't listen to Christ, they stayed. Now, of course, they were spiritual people. They were Israelites. They were God's people. They figured the Most High had them. Everything was fine. But listen, something was happening a few miles from them. Okay? There was a garrison being placed, a border that was being placed in which they would not be able to escape. Read.
Verse 21.
Go ahead.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Go ahead.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of judgment.
For these be the days of judgment.
Vengeance.
Vengeance. Go ahead.
That all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Let's go back into the Josephus.
Josephus, paragraph 3. So all hope of escaping was now cut off from the Jews.
All hope of escaping was now cut off from the Jews. Now, what do you think your preachers are going to do when this happens? When they do this next false flag on emergency? All your preachers on the 501c3, they are already controlled through government. That's who they're going to use to tell the people to stay calm and just to go in and just follow the government just to get rations and food. It's going to be your preachers, your pastors. All those big cathedral churches you think are just mega churches for money now? No, they're going to be holding places also. What do you think is going to happen when people don't have no provision? They're going to run to their church. So now your big super mega church, your big super dome, is now the same dome of Louisiana. This is what's going to happen, brothers and sisters. It was purpose how they set these mega domes up. These are processing plants for government. They're going to be processing you right there within your churches, within your stadiums, your football stadiums, your mega churches, all that. They're going to be processing you and moving you into different areas. This is the plan. But I'm reading back here how they did it then, and I'm showing you the technology and how they rolling this out on a higher level now. It's the same exact thing. And those that were in Christ at this time seen it and avoided it. And those that are in Christ this time is seeing it and can avoid it. Some people have that defeated attitude and say, well, it's going to happen anyway, so who cares? No. We don't operate like that. We don't think like that. That's how these brothers were thinking. Okay? Because we got a higher power that can protect us if we follow what he say do. That's the key thing. So all that defeated attitude and saying, well, it's going to happen anyway, so nah, it don't work like that. It show you there's nothing new under the sun. Now, if you're going to sit back and let this happen to you, you can't say that was the will of the Most High. You can't sit back and say that. Well, that was the Lord's will. Listen, man have free will on earth. You got choices. We all have choices. Finish reading.
So all hope of the escaping was now cut off from the Jews.
Go ahead.
Together with their liberty of going out of the city. Then did the famine widen its progress, and devoured the people by whole houses and families. The upper rooms were full of women and children that were dying by famine, and the lanes of the city were full of the dead bodies of the aged. The children also, and the young men, wandered about the marketplaces like shadows, all swelled with famine.
All swelled with famine. That means big stomachs. Okay, don't think what's going on in these third world countries is by chance also. With those famines, how they caused malaria, let loose certain mosquitoes on the people and did things to the water in which the people cannot drink the water. That's also part of Jacob's trouble. They starve you out first. That's part of their eugenics program. They're doing this to us all over the earth. See, they don't need to bring out the armies in these third world countries like they're doing in the Western world, because they got the Western world locked down. But they use other tactics to starve them out and to deal with them later, to deal with our people in Africa and other marketplaces later. Why? Because we are condensed, and there's such a number of our people in Africa. They can't come at us like they would in the Western world. Okay? But this is the plan that they have once they put a garrison around you. Read.
The children also and the young men wandered about the marketplaces like shadows.
Like shadows. So yes, people still was able to operate and walk on the streets and all that. But the streets was barren. They was walking through the marketplaces. There was nothing on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
And it says they were like shadows. And the Romans were out on the outside, had food, water, had provisions, were strong, and sat back and look at these people die, disintegrate. Okay, that's the mindset of these people. You have to realize, another thing is, they make us believe that they are Christian and God-fearing and following God. These people are the children of Satan that's over these governments. This is what they do all day. They plan all day, 24 hours a day, on how to destroy our people. This is what they do. This is their job. So they don't think like we think. So some people ask, well, why do you continue to put these things out? Somebody have to give you the other side of things. Someone have to tell you what you need to hear to stay awake. So you can understand what the fight is, what the battle is. Some people are like, well, why don't you talk about this? Nah, you can go to church and get that. We here to talk about Matthew 24 and what Christ says that we have to understand in the time of his coming. That's the time we're in. We're in the times of the apocalypse. So this is what we're speaking of here. Now some of us and a lot of us will be saved through this, and I'm going to go through that. But I wanted to recap and bring out a few things from the Josephus first to show you that there's nothing new under the sun, that the government is using the same blueprint as the Caesars, as Romans. And that's more proof that the powers that are controlling the earth today are Romans. Who's financing this barricade around the United States? This barricade around certain countries? Who's financing it? Yes, you all know. The Jewish powers, the people that follow in the Babylonian Talmud. It's their money, it's their idea under Satan to destroy Jacob. They Esau. They Edomites. Warring against their brother Jacob. It's not about money. I'm going to say this again. These people got more money than you can imagine. It was never about money with these people. It was never about money. It's about the rulership of the planet. And they understand that according to prophecy, if Israel survived this, we receive everything. The meek of the earth, the poor. They understand this. Read.
All swelled with the famine.
All swelled with the famine. Go ahead.
And fell down dead wheresoever their misery seized them. As for burying them, those that were sick themselves were not able to do it. And those that were hardy and well were deterred from doing it.
Now you're going to have people listening to this and saying, man, that sounds horrible. To sit there and children are dying and people are dying of starvation. Listen, I sat there and seen this on television when Katrina happened. People floating on water. Come to find out, you had black water killing people. You had armies shooting people. You had black water there killing cops who was trying to defend people. And for days, no one went in and did anything while these people died, was suffering. So don't tell me that this is something new, what we're reading here. It's something new to people who don't know history. This is what they do when it's time to come against us. You have to realize they utilized us until their construct was built. They needed us in their wars to get to this point. They needed our ingenuity and our technology. They needed us to physically work to build their construct. But their construct is built now. So they no longer need our armies. That's why they feeding our armies vaccinations and killing them with different types of syndromes and giving them anthrax vaccines. They don't need our army anymore. They don't need our manpower no more. Their construct is built. Now, they're executing the plan to come against us all together. The industrial complex is destroyed. There's no more industry in the Western world. They've built everything they needed to get out into space. So there's no need for us anymore. That's as far as they're concerned. Now, it's about human consumption now. We're just eating up more than we're worth, according to their plan. So they have no recourse but to come against us. They don't need us no more. As long as we were building their plantations, building their construct, fighting in their wars, and taking down for them, of course they would have a time. You have to realize they're on an agenda. Once a certain agenda is accomplished, they say, okay, it's time to downsize now. It's one big corporation, brothers and sisters. This is how corporations operate. Once the project is done, they don't need the employee. They don't need the workers anymore. You might get disgruntled. You might come up against the plan. You might cost too much. This is why they claim that the earth is overpopulated. Because they don't need you for their program. You have to understand this. They have a diabolical plan that's they're about to cut loose on our people. And it's going to happen up this coming year. They're going to cut something seriously loose on us. Okay, eventually we're going to be saved. More and more people are going to come together, call on the Most High, and pray together. Eventually, but it's going to be tough out here. I need you to finish reading what you have, then we're going to go into the Bible real quick.
As for burying them, those that were sick themselves were not able to do it.
People was not able to get buried at this time. That's familiar too. For those who are in the United States and remember Katrina. And let me tell you, when I used to speak to people who were in Katrina, it was way worse than what we know now, living in it. It was way worse than what was publicized. Because there were places where there was no cameras. There were no reporters. Okay? And that was just a beta test to roll out to see how do our people react when the government is warring against them. Do they fight back? What will they do? We sat back and did nothing. We turned the channel and we was looking at American Idol or whatever else was out there. And it became TV. It was just another story. It'll take about 3 to 5 minutes of your remorse and you'll be like, well, yeah, it's sad what's going on there. And then you turn to Desperate Housewives. This is what was going on. Or football or basketball or whatever the case was, whatever the distraction was. This is what happened. And George Bush sat back there and did nothing. He flew by there and seen the destruction. And you know what? He was reveling in his destruction. He sees it. Every president is operating in the same position as Caesar, what I'm reading right here. Rome's deadly wound was healed as America. For those who are looking at the Pope is just the priestly or the ceremonial side of Babylon. Okay, and Rome. But the physical might of Babylon and Rome is America. That's the physical might. That's the power of the Senate, the Republic. That's the power of the Caesars. Against who? The children of Israel. You must know your history, brothers and sisters. You must research your history. They come against us the same way over and over again, and we react the same way every time. And they can bank on it. Read.
And those that were hardy and were well deterred from doing it by the great multitude of those dead bodies, and by the uncertainty there was how soon they should die themselves. for many died as they were burying others.
It says so many people were dying, many died while they were burying others.
And many went to their coffins before that fatal hour was come.
Now I'm going to say this, and let me tell you something about these governments. Let me tell you, they understand propaganda and the PR machine. So now they're trying to do a clean kill on the people in these Western worlds. Okay? That's why they got the body bags. They got their different flus that they came up with to kill the people. And I'm going to tell you how they're going to do it. Listen to this clear, brothers and sisters. They have institutionalized all schools. They're making it where almost homeschooling is against the law. So what they're going to look to do? They're going to move the children in the places first in a state of an emergency through a drill when something happens. And what parent out there is going to sit back there and once they get that phone call and not come to check on their child inside these camps? This is how they're going to do it. While growing up, if you were in these institutions we call school, they would have a drill, fire drill, in which everyone would come outside and you would go back up. What were they drilling you for? There was never a fire. They set up these drills for the time to come. This is how they're going to get a lot of people in these camps. It's going to be by taking the children there first. This is how they're going to do it. But I'm going back into history to show you how they did it back then. But now, it's more because of cameras and television. They'd have to be a more finished type of destruction they're planning. A more cleaner PR, public relations, where they can separate themselves from the straight killing. You understand? So they can say, well, it happened because of a flu, or it happened because of destruction, or an earthquake, or they were looting, or they were doing bad and we had to come in, or because they were terrorists and we had to take them down this way. See, because of television, now they must use propaganda. But same result. Nonetheless, same result. Read.
Nor was there any lamentation made under these calamities.
There was no lamentations made under these calamities. That means so many people were dying. The majority of those that was witnessing this didn't even cry anymore. It wasn't even time for tears. They got used to so much death, no more crying. Read.
Nor were heard any mournful complaints, but the famine confounded all natural passions. For those who were just going to die looked upon those that were gone to the rest before them with dry eyes and open mouths. A deep silence also, a kind of deadly night, had seized upon the city, while yet the robbers were still more terrible than these miseries were themselves. For they break open those houses which were no other than graves of dead bodies.
So that didn't stop our people from trying to rob and loot. The weak would die, and the strong of our people were looking to get paid. Sound familiar? Yeah, you might think that this is crazy, right? These are the same people that are sit there and trample each other and kill each other over a pair of retro Jordans or something. Same people. Here it is, you dying, your people dying in the streets, you being destroyed, and now you're looking to go in and get paid off of this. See, don't tell me that these people that are controlling this earth have not profiled us perfectly. Look at how we acted right here in a state of an emergency. Same thing over and over again. Man, I'm going to get some iPhones. Here it is. It can be people dying in the streets. Man, I'm going to get a flat screen TV. You have somebody running down the street with a flat screen TV. And there's no electricity anywhere. This is the mindset of our people. Read.
For they break open those houses, which were no other than graves of dead bodies, and plundered them of what they had, and carrying off the coverings of their bodies, went out laughing, and tried the points of their swords on their bodies. And in order to prove what metal they were made of. They thrust through some of those that still lay alive upon the ground. But for those that entreated them to lend them their right hand.
Now, this is pretty graphic. I mean, I don't even, when you get a chance, you read these chapters yourself. One thing about the book of Josephus, it's not, he goes into the gory details, exactly how it was, without leaving anything out. There's one instance where a woman was starving and her baby died, so she cooked her baby. And she had half of the baby left, and the guys bust in the house, and they took half of the baby and ate the baby, her own child. This is what went on. And when you read these stories, I mean, it's gory, it's bad, but this is what happened to our people. Predominantly those who didn't take heed to Christ's prophecies, because it tell you in Josephus that those who were following Christ was telling people, listen, let's leave out. Let's go. This is what he was talking about. These people are going to look to destroy us. And then everyone was laughing at them, was making jokes at them. And people started saying, man, get out of here, man. And you know what? They look up, these people were gone. They started leaving out little by little. And soon as that wall was finished, that was it. There was no way anyone could get in or out. Okay? Now, relating this to today, I'm looking at the body scanners, how they are looking to, how they're making it where you don't even want to travel, where they're frisking you and touching your body and taking you in the back and doing all types of things to people, radiating people. Don't you know that those scanners cause cancer? So they're making it where people don't even want to travel anymore. Right? People don't want to get on a plane anymore. That's number one. Then now they're coming up with this carbon footprint garbage, where they claim that now they have to raise, if you're flying in the EU or within the United States and the EU, that they're going to raise the price of tickets because of carbon footprints, because you might be polluting the air, so you got to pay more money. So now they're going to raise the ticket so high, people are not going to be able to travel. And under this terrorism garbage, they could just put you on a no-fly list and you did nothing. Now you can't travel. Also, as of this year, they signed in the bill that will actually connect your debt to whether or not you can actually get a passport. When we're born in debt, they can say, well, okay, you got to get your debt down to $2,000 or down to $1,500 before you can apply for a passport, because you might be a flight risk. So the question is, if you are the most beautiful and more loving and the greatest country on earth, why are you trying to stop people from leaving? So brothers and sisters need to listen to what's going on. You understand when it comes to this. And I like to make these parallels over and over. And you notice I do this like at least once every 2 months, once every 3 months, to keep this thing in your mind that we are actually repeating history. You are repeating history. There's nothing new under the sun. So, believe it or not, brothers and sisters, the governments and what they're planning right now, they would never tell you. They would never tell you their real plans. You don't know until it's too late. It happened to us over and over again. It happened to us in Jerusalem. And look what happened to our people. Now they're doing it again. Okay? They're also doing it over in Mexico. They turned Mexico into a third world country purposely. Now they have joined Canada's, Mexico, and Americans' troops together to operate on either side of the borders. Yeah. Now, if you go into the UK, you'll realize in the United Kingdom, it's already accomplished in the United Kingdom. You understand? There's cameras every place. All their roads lead into a dead end. Like their little streets are all little concentration camps. all leading into dead ends to come out into the main road. They have bumps, or what you would call speed bumps, every place to stop people from driving fast in the United Kingdom. So their grid is already in place there. Some people say that maybe someone or governments are planning something big to happen during the time of the Olympics. I don't know what's going on there as far as that's concerned, but I know that that applies to our brothers and sisters there also. Any place in the Western world, it applies to us. But this is what the nations are afraid of. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1.
Because why? We're downtrodden. We don't have nothing. We poor. We can't, we need a savior. And the nations, based on our current status, the nations are thinking there's no way these people will get out of this. It's impossible that these people will actually achieve their role in this earth and become the children of Jacob again. That these people will become the heirs to this earth. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 5 and 1. Read it.
Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness.
It says the righteous man shall stand in great boldness
before the face of such as have afflicted him.
And we're going to be staring at the face, the same people who have afflicted us. Read.
And made no account of his labors.
And they made no account of our labors. We built everything you see. We built up America. We built up these countries. Slave labor. Okay? When slavery was finished, they came up with different levels of prohibition so that we can, okay, no more slavery. All right, we're going to criminalize something so that you can work on the chain gangs to build the railroads. Then they made alcohol illegal so they can come against us with that, to put us in jail to work for free. Then they made drugs illegal so they can come against us in that, so we can work for free. So all this working we've done for free since our inception in these Western worlds, and there was no account of our labors. Look at what the Jewish people received from their little Holocaust, and really not that many people died. Just as many ethnic groups of other people, blacks and other people, died as Jewish people. Okay? So I'm talking about in so-called World War II. That wasn't just, let me tell you, bombs do not discriminate. Guns don't discriminate. Look what happened to our people there. I mean, look at what happened to them and look at what they received. But there's no account for our labors. We get nothing in this earth. Read.
Verse 2. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear.
When those nations see that our people will rise again, and they, believe it or not, a lot of them are fearing already that our people are waking up all over the earth. Read that last part again.
When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear.
All the nations, when they see us rise, they shall be troubled with serious fear. Read.
And shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation.
And they're going to be amazed at the strangeness of our salvation. That salvation is Yeshua. Read.
So far beyond all that they looked for.
All far beyond anything they looked for. Because our saving is going to happen in a way that the Gentiles cannot contemplate. Okay? There's no studies at the Pentagon or amongst you generals or amongst the Caesars that are controlling this earth, or the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome, the Illuminati powers. There's nothing in your meetings that can prepare for what the Most High have for us. It's impossible. All your planning eventually going to be for naught. Read.
Verse 3. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves.
This is what the Gentiles will say within themselves after they've done all this to us.
This was he whom we had sometimes in derision.
This is he who we had sometimes in derision.
and a proverb of reproach.
There was a proverb of reproach. We would call them niggers. We would call them wetbacks. We would call them spicks. We would call them jungle this and jungle that. We would call them apes. All those nations going to look at what they used to call the children of Jacob when the Most High awaken Israel and Israel rise and stand again as the princes of this earth. And it's coming. Read.
Verse 4. We fools accounted his life madness.
And it says the Gentiles going to look and say, we fools, we counted his life madness. We thought that they were just, people like 50 cents or, don't sleep on 50 cents because he's smarter than people might think. Mm-hmm. But I'm just using the culture as an example. Or we thought that they just wanted to do drugs or wanted to do this or do that. They're going to realize, man, these people who were chosen to be the elect, we should have known that they wouldn't stay that way forever. We should have known that the Most High would bring forth a phenomenon that would awaken the children of Jacob so that they would stand and look us right in the face as the chosen people. And I'm going to tell you something about the children of Jacob. You want to talk about all these people that go to these education places and go to these institutions and think they're smart? Let me tell you. I've lived around them. I've known them. There's no smarter people than the children of Jacob because they don't need school. A lot of them have the wits to be able to operate in this earth without high education. And when they link into their Father, when they link into the Most High, you can forget it. So what happens when they make it through all this and you're standing and looking at the person that you thought was a drug dealer, that you have promoted as a thief, as a robber, or the daughters of Zion, who you promoted as someone who would just swing down a pole and shake and do all that. When you see these great sisters of great prowess and knowledge and understanding just standing there as the daughters of Zion and the children of Israel, what are you going to do? You have to realize these nations have spent everything, all their resources, to portray us and to put us in the position to mock us. So that they can look at us and say, well, look at them and look at us. The Gentiles conspired together. They tell you that in Psalms 83. But soon they're going to look and they're going to see the children of Israel rise because the Most High have his hands on our people. He have his hands on our people. I'll tell you, a lot of us might not make it through this. But this is going to be fulfilled. And so regardless of what happens down the line, we know that these scriptures are going to be fulfilled. Finish reading.
We fools accounted his life madness.
And they're going to look at us and say, we were fools. We accounted their lives as nothing, as madness. Read.
And his end to be without honor.
And we thought their end would be without honor. See, people sometimes sit back and look for you to fall. Look for you to go down. Like the nations, they look at us and like, look how bad they are, just so they can measure themselves against us. We thought their end would be without honor. Read.
Verse 5. How is he numbered among the children of God?
So all the nations are going to look at our people and they're going to say, you know what? How is these people numbered with the what?
The children of the Most High.
How is these people numbered with the children of God? I thought they were clubbing. I thought they were on the videos doing all types of craziness. I thought they were thugs. How is these people the children of the Most High? This is what the nations are going to say. We prayed to Buddha. We prayed 5 times a day like those Muslims doing. And what they're doing is ancient Babylonian and ancient Egyptian too. Praying 5 times a day for the 5 channels of the sun they worship. They worship 5 times a day. Don't have nothing to do with the Most High itself. It's the 5 channels of the sun they worship. So they're going to look at us and say, look at how we praying and look how we were worshiping. And these are the people? We pray 5 times a day. We sit there before Buddha with the incense lit. Read.
How is he numbered among the children of the Most High?
How is this? How they're going to look at our people and say, how were these people, how are they numbered with the children of God? How could these people be the children of Israel? And let me tell you, This is how you know this is not talking about Jewish people, because they're on top. This can't be talking about Jewish people right here. This talking about a people who are suffered, dejected, people who are downtrodden on, who've labored and was in captivity and worked for nothing. And now all the nations are beholding them as the children of the Most High. I mean, this is what they need to be teaching in the churches. Read.
And his lot is among the saints.
And his lot is amongst the saints. Oh yeah. You thought Mother Teresa was a saint. They were like, no. No. It's that brother or sister from Mexico. That brother or sister that's from Dominican Republic. That brother or sister that's from Colombia. The brothers and sisters that are in Hawaii or in the Philippines or in suffering in Haiti. You know it's going to be something when they see the Haitian brothers stand as kings, all clean garments, strong, standing before the Most High as saints after you done destroyed them, try to take their land, try to kill them under the French wars. Then they're going to look at our people and go like, how can these be the people? The Bible is telling you. That's why the nations are going to be looking at us strange, like, it was them? These were God's people? Then they're going to see our great brother, Christ. They're going to see him like, man. So he's with you. Yeah, he's with us. Read.
Verse 6. Therefore have we erred from the way of truth.
Therefore have we erred from the ways of truth. That is what the Gentiles are going to say when they see us stand again. So yes, we're going to go through some Jacob's trouble. We're going to go through some hardship. But it's good to know this is where we end. We end as standing as the elect, with all the nations acknowledging their fault and their arts against our people. They're going to see it and they're going to admit it. Okay? And there's no power or no weapons they have will be able to come against our people. Zero. Zero. Read.
Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness.
And the light of righteousness, go
has
ahead.
not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us.
The sun of righteousness rose not upon us. Read.
We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction.
So the nations are going to look at themselves and say, we weary, we work day and night just to uphold wickedness and destruction. Look at this earth. They got everything. And look what they're doing, bombing and killing each other. They wearying themselves just to kill themselves. So they're going to look at us and say, you know what, we did all this for nothing. It was about these people the whole time. We was fighting for something that didn't belong to either of us. It was theirs. Read.
Yea, we have gone through deserts where there we have gone through deserts where there lay no way. But as for the way of the Lord, we have not known it.
He says we went through deserts, we done set up cities, we done did all types of things. But the way of the Most High, we didn't know it. That's what the Gentiles are going to say. With all of our technology, our ingenuity and education, how could we not know who these people were? How could we not understand that we were going the wrong way and following Satan? That's what these Gentiles are going to get a revelation. They're going to understand this. And a lot of them are waking up now, believe it or not. A lot of them are waking up and saying, you know what, it's something going on deeper with these people than what the media portrays. These people are people of God. And they're going to start recognizing that. And they're going to, believe it or not, I'm going to tell you, the Gentiles in this earth are going to help the children of Israel through Jacob's trouble. The Most High going to put a spirit on them. Hold up. There's a scripture on that. Let me get that for you real quick. Finish reading.
Verse 7.
Go ahead.
Verse 8. Would have pride profited us? Or what good have riches?
Read that again.
Would have pride profited us?
What have pride profited us? Go ahead.
Or would have good riches with our vaunting brought us?
What if all these riches, what have come of all these riches we stored? And now these people have everything. That's what they're going to be looking at. Read.
All those things are passed away like a shadow, and as a post that hasteth by,
Go ahead.
and as a ship that passeth over the waves of the water, which when it is gone by, the trace thereof cannot be found, neither the pathway of the keel in the waves.
Go ahead.
Or as when a bird hath flown through the air, there is no token of her way to be found, but the light air being beaten with the stroke of her wings, and parteth with the violent noise and motion of them, is passed through, and therein afterwards no sign where she went is to be found. Or like as when an arrow is shot at a mark, it parteth the air, which immediately cometh together again, so that a man cannot know where it went through. Even so we in like manner, as soon as we were born, began to draw to our own end, and had no sign of virtue to show, but were consumed in our own wickedness.
So he says, just like an arrow can go through a wind and part the wind, and there's no account that the arrow went through the wind. It's the same as when these nations are born, and their end is to do wicked all through their life and die, just to uphold what you would call the agenda of their forefathers. See, some people might ask, well, why is it that through all this time, one generation passed, but the next generation continue what the last generation, or do it on the next level, continue the evil of their past forefathers? Why? Because the agenda goes down from generation to generation. The people in secret societies and all these different offices, they raise their children to stand in their stead. Be it doctors, lawyers, politicians, generals, whatever it is, the agenda is generational. They raise their children to pick up in their stead. I need you to go to Jeremiah. I need you to finish reading that, and then go to Jeremiah 16 and 19.
Verse 14. For the hope of the ungodly is like dust that is blown away with the wind, like a thin froth that is driven away from the storm, like as the smoke which is dispersed here and there with a tempest, and passeth away as the remembrance of a guest that tarrieth but a day.
Go ahead.
But the righteous live forevermore. Their reward also is with the Most High. With the Lord, and the care of them is with the Most High. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom and a beautiful crown from the Lord's hand. For with his right hand shall he cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them.
So the Most High is going to protect us. Yeshua is going to protect us, and they know this. Read.
Verse 17. He shall take to him his jealousy for complete armor, and make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. He shall put on righteousness as a breastplate, and true judgment instead of a helmet. He shall take holiness for an invincible shield. His severe wrath shall be sharpened for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise.
Read that again. And the world.
His severe wrath shall be sharpened for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise.
Go ahead.
Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad, and from the clouds, as from a well-drawn bow, shall they fly to the mark, and hailstones full of wrath shall be cast out as a stone bow, and the water of the sea shall rage against them, and the flood shall cruelly drown them. Yea, a mighty wind shall stand up against them, and like a storm shall blow them away. Thus iniquity shall lay waste the whole earth, and ill-dealing shall overthrow the thrones of the mighty.
So the Most High is showing the weaponry that will be used to destroy the powers of this earth. And those are nuclear destruction. That's those arrows. That's those missiles written of in the book of Isaiah. Written of in the book of Zephaniah. Okay, so once these missiles are launched, and it's going to happen, and the powers of this earth is broken, God's people are going to rise from the dust. Get Psalms 37 and 40.
Psalms chapter 37, verse 40. And the Lord shall
read that.
And the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him.
Read that again.
And the Lord shall help them
It says Yeshua shall help them, read.
and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them, because they trust in him.
Because they trust in him. But that's the key. These are they that trust the Most High, that trust his word, that trust that he will protect them. Okay? Now you can't trust something unless you do what? Step and do and do an act of faith. You have to step out in an act of faith and trust that the Most High is going to protect you. You understand? You must have some similitude of faith or trust in the Most High, that he's going to destroy the wicked regardless of the wicked's plans against us. You understand? Get Isaiah 16 and 19. That's the one I wanted. Jeremiah 16 and 19.
Jeremiah chapter 16 verse 19.
Read.
O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction.
Go ahead.
The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth.
The Gentiles shall come from the end of the earth and say what?
And shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies.
Surely our fathers have inherited lies. Surely our fathers have been lied to and lied to us. That's what they're saying. Many Gentiles are coming now and saying, well, listen, we all been lied to. All nations are waking up now. And they will be a help to the children of Israel. Read.
Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit.
Go ahead.
Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are no gods? Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know mine hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is the Lord.
And they shall know that my name is the Lord. And we know that name is I am. Why does the Most High keep saying they shall know? And talk about exalting his name. We're going to call on him. Believe me. We're going to call on him when it's time. A lot of us don't want to admit his name and pray to that name. But when that hell breaks loose and those Gentile armies are up on us, and we're seeing that what we've been using is not working, we're going to come together, we're going to fast and pray, and we're going to be dealing with divine intervention from the Most High. He's going to protect us, he's going to guide us. Okay? I need you to get Jeremiah, the 30th chapter real quick.
Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 1.
Go ahead.
The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus speaketh the most high power of Israel, saying, Write thee all these words, or all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith the Most High, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel.
That he will bring again the captivity of Israel
and Judah.
And Judah,
saith the Lord, and will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers.
And will cause them to return to the land which I gave to their fathers.
And they shall possess it.
And we shall possess it. So the Most High is going to give us land. We're not looking for the Gentiles to give us anything. Read.
Verse 4. And these are the words that the Lord spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith the Lord, We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travail with child.
And let me mention this. When we say that we're not looking for the Gentiles to give us anything, let me make it clear what I'm saying here. The UN set up the Israelis in Palestine or in Jerusalem and called them Israelis. They were Polish. They were German. So it was the UN that set them up. We're not looking for the Gentiles to come together and give us Israel, because we know the time is not yet. Wars must happen before Christ deliver Israel or our promised land into our hands. It won't be through our hands that we receive Jerusalem or we receive Israel. It will not be through our hands. It'll be through the power of the Father when he sent his son Yeshua, the Savior. Read.
Verse 6. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travail with child.
Do a man travail with child?
Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins,
Go
as a
ahead.
woman in travail,
Read.
and all faces are turned into paleness
All faces are turned into paleness. Read.
at last. For that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
It's the time of what?
Of Jacob's trouble.
This is the time of Jacob's trouble. And that's what the Romans and the Gentiles have been planning against us for years. They're all together in it too. Even though they're fighting against each other, their common foe is us. So it's going to come a time in which they will stop fighting each other to battle against us. That's going to happen too. Read.
But he shall be saved out of it.
Read it again.
But he shall be saved out of it.
We will be saved out of it. But again, that saving is not just sitting around waiting for someone to save you. There's an action in which we're going to need to trust the Most High. There's an action. Okay? Finish reading.
Verse 8. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him.
Strangers shall no longer serve themselves of us. The whole earth got rich off of the children of Israel. It's going to come. He's bursting the bonds now by now giving us the truth. It's to a point now that our people who are starting to understand, they're like, okay, it's time to put them back in slavery again. Open up the internment camps, shoot them with drugs, shoot them with all types of stuff so that they can work and build this corporate construct. And once they finish working, we're going to kill them. Once we get what we need out of them, we're going to get them out of the way altogether. This is their plan now. So then, let me tell you, these government powers not even hiding their agenda no more. But the Most High is going to save us through this. He's going to save us. He said he would. Read.
Verse 9. But they shall serve the Most High their power, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them.
And when it says David their king, that's talking about Yeshua, who will sit on the throne of David. You can link that in with Acts, the 2nd chapter. That's talking about Yeshua, who will sit on David's throne. Read.
Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord.
So the Most High says he didn't give us the spirit of fear. So we don't get you didn't get this truth to sit back and be afraid and scared of what the government or the New World Order might do to you. Okay? There's no fear in this. Read.
Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity.
And the Bible says he will save us from the land of thy captivity. Now again, we're captives throughout the four corners of the earth. Some people might apply this and say, well, that means you're not supposed to flee Babylon. That is not what that means. Okay? Because he's saving us by allowing us to leave. Okay? He says, deliver thyself that dwell with the daughter of Babylon. So part of our deliverance is us doing something and trusting in him on our way out. Okay? So that's not saying that, okay, he's going to do something miraculous and send forth some ships in America to pick people up. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Read.
And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest.
It says Jacob shall return and be in rest. Now, how do we know this? How do we know it's not going to happen that way? Because there's an interim. After what happens in America, you still got the wilderness. We're not going to have total rest until Christ returns. There's going to be a purging period in the wilderness alone. So this is talking about him saving us throughout the four corners, and then we're going into our rest after we went through the wilderness. That's what this is talking about. You understand? It's not talking about you coming from America and now you saved with spaceships or something, and now you're going to fly into Jerusalem. It don't work that way. And I'm saying this because I know a lot of you don't believe this, but there's some people out there teaching that some ship's going to come pick them up. It's not going to happen. Read.
And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee.
He says, though I'll make a full end of the nations that did this to you, I will not make a full end of you. He's telling Israel, listen, I'm going to preserve you based on the promises that I gave to your forefather Abraham. And that I sent my son down into the earth to be sacrificed so that you can receive this reward through Abraham. So even though I may destroy all the other nations that have destroyed you, but I will never do away with my people. The Most High never destroyed his people. We will always be here. We will always be here. We have to go through Jacob's trouble, and that's the time we're in now. Finish reading.
But I will correct thee in measure.
He says he will correct us in measure. Go ahead.
And will not leave thee altogether unpunished. For thus saith the Lord, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity.
So the Most High says, why cry that we're being afflicted when he put the affliction on us? He's saying, listen, let's go through the affliction, and at the end of the day, we're going to be like pure gold. We're going to shine like pure gold. I tell you that in the book of Isaiah. But we have to go through the affliction. Why cry over the affliction? Let's make it through the affliction, understanding that we are the children of Israel, that we're God's people, and that at the end of the day, we are saved. The Most High will save us. The Most High will save us. You have to realize, look at what the other nations are doing right now. They sitting there getting their Nimrod sticks ready, the Christmas trees ready, decking it with silver and gold, running around like madmen, just to celebrate Nimrod and Satan. And you have God's people doing what? You have God's people preaching against this day, praying against this day, fasting against this day. So the Most High is going to deliver our people. He's going to raise us up, because now we're starting to recognize him and separate ourselves from the mindset and the wisdom of the heathen. And even the heathen is going to start recognizing that the Most High have broken this mind control off of our people. So we praise the Most High. So I wanted to show that, yes, they have a plan to do these things to us, but at the end of the day, we make it through the trouble. And all the elite and the powers and all these people who have operated with the agenda of their forefathers against Israel, they're going to have their part in the lake of fire. All of them. They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. Every last one. So yeah, they're going to give us some hell on earth for a while. But I'll tell you what will not kill us is going to make us stronger. What will not kill us will make, and you got people fighting at each other, going at each other, cursing each other, you looking to fight each other. Let me tell you, when this thing go down and our people come together, the small remnant that's left, there'll be no argument, no fighting. We're going to love to see each other. There's not going to be any disagreement on precepts. Believe me, because we're going to thank the Most High that we see another one of our brothers and sisters living in this earth, that we can pray and commune with, if only for a moment. That's the time we're going in. Okay? And I wanted to say this, and I know the brothers in the streets are going to preach it, that listen, what America and the Western world used to be is over. Babylon the Great is fallen. It's over. That life that people used to aspire for in America and in the Western world is finished. Now the bankers are looking for you to pay back that debt. No more splurging. It's over. So I just wanted to go into that, and I wanted to say, brothers and sisters, you know, just stay strong, regardless of what may happen. Know that at the end of this day, we stand as a people. We stand as a people. Yeah, they planting garrisons. They putting the borders around the country. They're doing the same thing as 70 A.D., but we make it through this. We make it through. And let me tell you, we got some people, man, all over the earth that haven't drunk the wine of Babylon, that the Most High is going to preserve the stand. You got the Aborigines of Australia. They still operate like nomads over there. You got people in parts of Africa that still haven't been drunken from the wine of Babylon. You got people in these different areas, in these rural areas that are living, that haven't been tainted through the wine of Babylon. And the Most High is going to use those people too. But, you know, now that I look at it, the Bible tell you about the pride of thine heart have deceived thee that dwelleth in the cleft of the rocks. And you know who took on that pride? America. And that pride not only is in the nations and the Gentiles and the Edomites, we've become proud being a part of the wine of Babylon. So the Most High is about to bring a humbling experience to all of us. We've drunk the wine of Babylon, our people, and we think that that country is for our turn. You're going to find out who was against us the whole time very soon. You're going to find out. And hopefully, through you finding that out, you come together. Okay? We may not agree on everything, but I'll tell you this, we can agree that we God's people. So stop aiming your spiritual darts at each other, and let's start pointing that towards the enemy who is destroying us from the outside. And we can work out our internal differences in a safe place like the wilderness. Okay? With that, I'm going to say shalom. I hope we delivered some level of understanding, paralleling the past to what will be our near future. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then Elder Gabar will come in with his class. Let me unpause. Go ahead, you can start answering. Lawyer, answer. I'll be right back. I got it good.
Someone says during the fast, can they watch television? The answer is yes. The only thing that the fast calls for you to do is to abstain your flesh from food and water. All right? Now, if there's something on TV that may cause you to get into the so-called Christmas spirit, or may cause you to break your spirit in order to go get something to eat and get something to drink, you may want to abstain from the television. But if not, you know, you can watch television as much as you want. Okay, 1 second. The questions are coming pretty fast. I'm going to pause the chat for 1 second.
Any questions?
Yes, it's coming pretty fast. All right, this is the next question from Miss Judah, 1949.
Go ahead.
Says, Shalom, elders. My son went to Barnes & Noble to buy a Hebrew and English Tanakh, and a Jewish clerk got it for him and said, as he passed it to him, the plot thickens. What did he mean by that?
He says the plot thickens.
Yeah.
So the clerk said the plot thickens.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, the plot thickens because they know that we know now.
Mm-hmm.
See, once we start going into the Hebrew, we can actually destroy all the lies that these people have promoted, because you can see where they clearly changed certain things. That's why that clerk told that young man, the plot thickens. Now your son have entered into the war.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally. And this is what they were afraid of. Okay?
Next one.
Also, I wanted to say that we have more proof that the name Yahweh and Jehovah is Satan's name on a whole nother level. We even did the research to find out where they used it, how they used it, when they brought it out of Egypt, how Dan became the priest and used that name, and how they have certain holy days that the Jewish people follow till this day and name it after our holy days. And it's in the Old Testament. And that name links directly to Baal and the golden calves. Also, Dan is operating within this earth also with the elite. And we got proof of all this. And Jehovah and the Tetragrammaton is the name of their God, the golden calf. Beyond any shadow of a doubt, I got more proof of it. And when we bring this out, now every week we bring something out on this. If brothers still hold to this Yah and Yahweh thing, you have to start wondering whether or not they probably know they worshiping Satan at this point. If you bring out all this proof and show the history, how Israel, there were two separate worships of Israel. You had Israel who followed the Most High Ahijah, and you had Israel who went off under Solomon and started going back into the ways of Baal. So we're not saying Israelites didn't call on Yahweh or Jehovah. We're saying those Israelites were dealing directly with Satan knowingly. So that's the next level we're going to take this thing. If you know that this name was being worshipped under Satan throughout history, and we give you the biblical proof and the historical proof, and you decide to continue that, then we know that you voluntarily are calling on Satan now. So that's going to be the next thing we bring out with that. Someone asks, what is the lake of fire? Next week, we're going to go into that. What is hell? What is hell? Because you have all these theories of hell. And we're going to go into Luke, the 16th chapter, along with information from the 70 verses that was hidden in your annotated Apocrypha, along with works of the Josephus on the Discourse of Hades, to show you what exactly happens in the center of the earth. Next week.